middle class. It's an enormous market. As I've said before, this is one of the biggest opportunities for U.S. companies and U.S. business if we can get this right. And President Trump is determined. This is the first administration that has aggressively said to China, you need to play fair.
Is the president willing to drop all tariffs should you get a good deal that's acceptable?
I think everything's on the table. So the president will look at, again, the objective is to have a very fair deal. Hopefully we'll make progress this week. The president will be involved in these negotiations and discussions, and we still got a lot of work to do.
But the president said, look, I'm a tariff guy. I like tariffs. So does that mean these tariffs are for, no end in sight, or would he be willing to drop the tariffs altogether?
The president hasn't made any decisions on that. There have been no recommendations from the economic team on that yet. The first step is to make sure we get a good agreement, and when we get a good agreement, we'll make a recommendation to the president, and he'll consider that.
We have seen the Chinese economy get impacted. You're still talking about 6.4% growth, we think, but that is lower than some people think. What's your worry, or how concerning is it that the Chinese slowdown will impact the United States?
Well, there's no question that China is slowing down. They still have significant growth rates. We're beginning to see the impact on that on world growth. Our objective is not to slow down China. Our objective is to make sure that U.S. companies can do business in China and can do business fairly. So we're monitoring these issues.
Because the CBO says that the shutdown caused $11 billion impact to the economy, $3 billion of which is completely lost because of the 35-day shutdown. Your reaction?
Maria, Kevin Hassett, the CEA, is working on final numbers for us. I think his view is that there's no question that there was some cost, but those costs will be recovered as money comes back into the system. I think he views that it will almost all be recovered. Now, as it relates to the exact numbers, I haven't seen the final numbers yet. But the good news is we got the government open, people are back to work, and we have not seen any significant impact on the economy.
Is the president prepared to shut down the government again in 3 weeks if he doesn't get the money for the border wall?
Maria, I had dinner last night with the president, the vice president, Senator Lindsey Graham. We had a very good discussion on this issue. There's no question in my mind that the president, the vice president want to do a fair deal. Lindsey has been terrific in helping to negotiate this. I hope the Democrats are sincere. If they are, there's a sincere deal that will include a lot of different issues that need to be resolved. But if they're not sincere, the president has all his options on the table, and he's determined that he's going to make sure we have border security.
What's the impact on the IRS? There's a lot of worry out there that people are not going to get their checks after April 15th as a result of this shutdown. What can we expect?
Well, let me just comment on both the Treasury, our bureaus, the IRS in particular. I want to thank the enormous number of government employees who came in and worked during the shutdown. I think, as you know, we had the ability to bring in critical employees. We never would have been able to do the sanctions that we've been doing over the last month without the hardworking people. And the IRS had a large number of critical employees to make sure that we were ready to open for business as usual. So we're ready to open for tax season. We're taking tax returns. We'll be ready for tax refunds. We'll have the phones restaffed. Now, let me just say that there's no question this time of the year, there's very, very heavy call volume. That's something we have to manage. I encourage taxpayers who have questions to try to go to the web first. But we are ready for tax season, and I can assure you that tax refunds will be paid as normal.
Okay, so tax refunds will be paid as normal. That's the bottom line.
Absolutely.
People are worried about that. Let me move on to the sanctions, and in particular Venezuela, because you've applied sanctions on the Venezuelan oil industry. Tell us specifically what the impact here is.
Well, sanctions are a very important tool in our national security portfolio. And when we look at national security issues, we look at economic tools, we look at diplomacy, we look at national security tools, military options. So there's no question that what we're trying to do is to cut off the money to the regime that should not be in power and make sure that President Guaido has access to funds and has access to the assets of the country, and to make sure we protect these assets for the people of Venezuela.